Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We are excited to have you with us this evening. And what a beautiful story and a testament, the purpose for this moment. And all the credit to Edwina Hamilton, who is our manager of the community ambassador team. And, it was during the hard times of the pandemic, the social unrest, the violence, young people were being shot and killed. Staff members lost family to COVID, to violence. It was just a really, really difficult time. And I know that we were struggling and trying to do our jobs and feeling the weight of all of that. And Edwina was inspired and came up with these beautiful words that I think I think for all of us probably kind of really held us together and realized that in the midst of all of the things that were horrible and happening, there was a purpose for each of us during this time. And so when, we were talking about what is this art show going to be this year, it just was like, well, of course, purpose for this moment. And so as we think about art having its purpose in our lives, it just really felt like it was the right thing to do. I want to do a quick caveat. Rick and I do not have our masks on because we are both fully vaccinated, 6 feet away. And so we're excited to actually be in a room together that we can actually have our mask off for this. So just wanted to make sure everyone knows that. A quick thank you to all of our donors who supported the art certainly over the years, but in particular, I'd like to thank Christine Bacalar, Lori Caden, Anna Weaver, and of course, the MacArthur Foundation. We are one of the first grantees of their new funds for the Culture, Equity, and Arts Fund, where this is exactly what it's about. It's about thinking about art and community and how folks are engaged in it. So we're grateful to have all those people and the foundation as donors to this great evening. I do want to turn it over to Rick, who is, as you heard, is our manager of community arts programs and did that wonderful tour for us. And he's going to share a little bit more with us this evening. Rick, take it away.
Welcome to Purpose for This Moment, 2021, right? Today or tonight, I want to just tell you a little bit about how the process of how we got here. 6 years ago, we started raising money to do art programming, and we were doing in-person art shows. It outgrew to the point where we had to find a larger venue to take it out of build, because we turned the whole headquarters into an art gallery. We put furniture away and painted walls and put up art. So when we saw that it was growing, we did the move and found spaces. And so this year, Corona hit, the city shut down, schools closed, build shut down. And, we were sent home and we had to think fast. And so, here at Build, we're super creative, right? And we always come up with these innovative ways to engage the young people. And so we hit virtual life, right? We hit the virtual world and we created tutorials, and we did 100 art kits that we delivered to 100 young people just so that they could have the supplies and materials to create art during this pandemic, right? And so once we were able to do programming and come back, and we started creating a plan of how we were going to do this. So I started reaching out to their mentors, right? Because they're the ones that have that tighter relationship with the young person. And so I was like, yo, let's make some art. How can we do some art? And again, here we go, creating some art kits, finding materials. I know what it is to fill about 1,000 cups of paint that is this big, so it was really cool, really cool. And, I can't thank everybody enough. I want to thank everybody tonight. So I'm going to go down this list. There's a lot of contributing artists. There's staff artists. There is businesses that donated. There is the Build programs, right? Much love to you guys. So here goes my list. To contributing artists, we had Sergeant Harris. We had myself, we had Mary Scott Boria, Nilos Ruiz, who was our youngest artist this year. He's 18 months old. Juan Torres, Tone Arts 24, Lena LaBoy, 1747 Designs for the Jewelry. Thank you so much. Emily Spaff, Scent Rock, David Anthony Gary, Doug Bishop, Hector Gonzalez, Benita Aguiano, Avery Santiago, Ignition Community, the Pottery Twins, Irma Carnier and Sons. And, a special shout out again to my Build programs, Erie, Shannon, Miss Kenesha and your shorties out there. you guys were the only site that's doing program in person. So it's
Mhm.
really cool to come in there and work with your young people. Scooby too, he's doing e-learning here. So I was able to come in and work with his young people here, which was a blessing. I went almost 4 months, 5 months with any type of young people
In
interaction.
person, right,
And I'm like, oh, I got 4 kids. I was super excited. So I would just want to give you guys, a special shout out. Education, Gabby, for coming out on Saturdays with the young people
Mhm.
from Calvin Park, taking that ride out here. Building Girls to Women, Isis, Yoli, Kalia, Shamara, Olivia. I just want to thank you guys so much. And Cortez, who is our youth staff. Right. He is works out there in the Iris, and he's always around me. So he's picked up the art, and so he's picked up some canvas, picked up some markers, and
Yep.
he's contributed to the art show. So I just wanted to give you guys a special thanks. There was also some staff artists, Olivia, Scooby, Iman, and Jeremy. Again, thank you so much. We couldn't do it without your guys' contribution. It's really important to us to raise money for the art show. And again, thank you so much.
Thanks, Rick. You mentioned Cortez, and what, Cortez is 19 now. He's been with us for a number of years. And, I think it just sort of is a testament to art, but also the way that you make it approachable, right? Because there is a little bit of an intimidation when you look at some of the pieces that people have contributed. When you look around the walls here at Build, you're like, oh, I can't paint like that, right? Like, I don't even know how would I even begin to mix colors. But I think that's been the beauty of it, and why you've seen sort of the folks that you wouldn't expect to get into art, because it's been made approachable to them, right? There's no, oh, that's the wrong way, you're doing it wrong. It's about, how does that make you feel, right? It doesn't, great. What else can you add to it? And so I think your technique, honed certainly over the years, has just really made this such an inviting place that anyone can do art. And I think that's been the beauty of what we do here at the organization. And I was absolutely inspired by you, Rick, certainly from the beginning, after our first conversation about let's do this big and take it across all of our programs. And of course we had no money, but it was like we were so caught up in we're going to do this, we're going to bring art to everybody. And even for me, as someone who, I love art, I used to do it a lot when I was younger. And just sort of this space creates this place to be inspired to do art. And I've done a couple pieces, right? 2 installations. I will say I tried my hand at painting, and I'm like, oof, I got to do more sipping paints, and probably more sipping than painting. But they were great, right? The first one was like this heart of doves. I think the second one, I was like, man, I'm going to go big. And this entire wall behind us was the Phoenix. And it was part of our theme for that show. And it was about young people. Phoenix will rise up and then burn itself up, and out of the ashes comes something new. And that was really the theme behind it. But it was huge. It was a collaboration with everyone. So we had kids, we had staff, it was me, it was like all of us involved in this. It was like 700 tissue flowers. So if you've ever done a tissue flower, you know exactly what I'm talking about: the folding, the bending, the opening, and then the cutting. And it was literally 700 plus flowers on that wall behind us. Rick came in and did a beautiful work with the flames and the gold. I mean, this wall was red. We had gold spray paint. We had glitter. Remember, we threw glitter at it, like just to give it all that sparkle. But I appreciate that. And while some might say, shouldn't you really be spending time doing other things at the organization? No, I should be doing all of that, because it was my outlet. I will say it was from the stress of everything, even though that project took on a whole life of its own, right? You remember, I was like, we're never going to get it done. But that's what I mean about what we do here. And so you have all these great staff artists, young people. It's approachable. No one's judged, and you're welcomed in. And so I appreciate, Rick. Thank you for introducing art in this way to all of us. But tell us how you got started in art, because I don't know you anything other than the artist, but I'm sure there's a backstory.
Yeah, for sure. I'll share a little bit about my story. I was born in Mexico, migrated here in the late 70s, landed in Chicago in Humboldt Park in 1980. And in the 80s, the crack pandemic, it was gang infested.
Yeah,
it was a rough neighborhood. Not a neighborhood that my parents would let us go out and play. So imagination is a wonderful thing, and I just let my imagination run wild. And so once I hit my teenage years, I was getting in trouble a lot. And so I was sent to work with my dad. He ran a shop, and so I went and I would sit there and clean up the shop. And I started gravitating to him painting cars, and he was bringing in wrecks and sending them out as brand new cars.
Wow.
And so when I would get in trouble there, he'd send me with my mom. And so I'd go work at my mom's shop. And so she was a hairdresser. And so she was doing the same type of work, right? There was women coming in there or scary, right? But they were leaving these beautiful transformed women, right? And so, early on, I just saw those as my influences, and I just kept it with throughout life. Where I joined the gang when I was 13 years old, and my job was to do the gang graffiti. And so I was going to rival neighborhoods and destroying their murals, or making our tags in our neighborhoods, and vice versa. And so I finally end up court mandated to a organization like BUILD called Street Level Youth Media. And it was wild, because all I knew was the street, and I only knew to paint with black and gold because those were my gang colors. And so they introduced me to this whole other palette of colors, and their whole curriculum was based around hip hop. And so I started seeing the distortion of words and letters and shapes being created into things. And I just started adapting it to what I was already doing. And so I just created my style. I also have dealt with depression. I've dealt with post-traumatic stress disorder, and this has been something that I've used to release. It's been my voice at times. I'm not a person to be yelling and talkative, right? But it's been my way of communicating. It's been a way of telling my story. I am a true believer of them being the arts being a healing tool. I love having art in my toolbox. And, all I try to do is instill it in the young people, and try to, hit up as many communities as we can and provide art to these young people. And so this is why it's so important to, raise these funds and do art shows like this. It takes a lot of work.
It takes a lot of work, but I mean, you said it, Rick, right? Just the therapeutic nature of what art allows us to do gives us a voice. I mean, and to see young people back there again for the first time doing art and feeling comfortable and confident, in it. And, there's art for art's sake, certainly, but when you think about what art does for people and the feeling it invokes and what it is, it's very personal, obviously, right? Yeah. So, this evening, as you're looking online and bidding, keep these stories in mind, right? And think about that every dollar that you bid, every contribution you make really goes to support these programs, which are life-changing. And it's everything from young, boys and girls to, teenage boys and girls to grown men and women, right? That these art has a way of weaving itself all the way through each and every one of us, regardless of age. And thus the beauty of it, and thus what we bring to the work that we do here. And so you mentioned the Iris, right, which is our farm. We've got chickens. If you've been following us on social, those chickens, yes. My best friends. But I will tell you that there's art infused into the Iris, right? Yeah. From the big Iris sign that's out there to when you're putting in like, these are carrots or whatever, little signs. So there's a way to weave art into all that we're doing. And we're so grateful to those of you who've tuned in. We're grateful to those who are online bidding. And we just continue to search. Look, Mary Scott Boria, you did an amazing piece. That is the quilt work. I didn't realize, and I don't know if you can tell in the photo, but each of those words that are hand stitched, and I had to go up and feel it. So I'm sorry. I know you're not supposed to touch art, but I rate just every single thing there is hand stitched, and that's love, right? I mean, if you think about the amount of time and effort. So I thank you to all of our artists. You guys are amazing. Thank you to those who are repeat and return. We appreciate your support, and continue to enjoy this evening. There's so much that you can see. Is that a phone for someone making a donation? Yes, we'll take that too. We appreciate you guys. Thank you. Continue to bid. We are really trying to bring in those funds to get us through this year. So thank you. And on behalf of our young people, thank you.
Thank you, guys.